Welcome, everyone. You're tuned in to F1 Motor Fever podcast, and today we're turning back the clock to delve into the riveting, untold story of Prema, modern junior single-seater's dominant force.
Prema. From humble beginnings to becoming a powerhouse, what a journey it's been.
Absolutely. Picture this, folks. The year is 1984, we're at the Vallelunga circuit, and Prema is making its debut at the Italian Formula 3's season-opening Campidoglio Grand Prix.
Quite a baptism of fire, wouldn't you say?
Oh, indeed. A fascinating tale of overcoming hurdles and the unwavering passion for racing that fueled this team's ascent to greatness.
Don't forget the strong family spirit, George. Angelo Rosen, co-founder of Prema, and his wife Grazia Troncon, were very much the heart of the team.
You're spot on, William. And let's not forget the role of Rosen's young cousins, Andrea and Primo. It truly was a family affair.
Indeed, and their success in the early days was nothing short of inspirational. Prema's first victory at Misano, courtesy of Gianfranco Tacchino, defeating Ivan Capelli, the European F3 champion no less.
An unforgettable moment. And let's not forget the time they were approached to run a Ralt VW at the Macau Grand Prix for Slim Borgud, an ex-Formula One driver and ABBA drummer. Talk about hitting the right notes.
Right you are. Borgud qualified second and finished sixth, truly a noteworthy achievement. This success caught the attention of other drivers and spurred Prema's growth.
The growth that led them to a new factory in Vicenza in 1987, remember? And they switched chassis from Ralt to Reynard, all while remaining faithful to those VW engines.
Yes, indeed. They've always been loyal to their roots. But then came the switch to Italian engines for 1988 with Alfa Romeo units. Fabrizio Giovanardi's championship run, narrowly missing out on the title to Emanuele Naspetti, was a sight to behold.
And who can forget 1989, when Prema had its first 1-2 finish with Bugatti leading Villeneuve at Benetto. The involvement of Antonio Tamburini and a young Jacques Villeneuve was a game-changer.
Villeneuve, a name that rings loud in the annals of Formula One. But let's not forget the challenges, George. Prema's switch to the Reynard chassis was a difficult transition, and the financial struggles that came later.
Indeed, William, but it's the challenges that make the story even more compelling. Prema's transformation into Prema Power Team and its evolution despite the odds is a testament to their indomitable spirit.
A saga of passion, perseverance, and triumph. Prema's journey is not just a story, it's a significant chapter in motorsport's vast narrative.
Their legacy in the racing world is not just historic, it's timeless, a testament to the determination and passion that defined Prema's early years. Hello, speedy folks. This is your host, George, stepping in for your regular Captain Enzo. With me is the man of wisdom and wit, our commentator, William. How are you, William?
Hello, George. It's always a pleasure to be a part of these special episodes. I'm doing well, thank you.
Brilliant. Now, for those who are new here, every Thursday morning we bring you a special episode of F1 Motor Fever podcast where we delve into the epic and historical aspects of the fast-paced world of Formula One.
Trust me, folks, if you're a fan of the speed and thrill that is Formula One, you won't want to miss these.
You're absolutely right, William. And if you're enjoying our content, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Leave us a comment or two and share our podcast with your friends and family. It really does help keep our motor running.
Yes, folks, your support means the world to us.
Today, we're treating you to the riveting, untold story of Prema, a dominant force in modern junior single-seaters world.
And why Prema, you might ask?
Because Prema's journey, from its humble beginnings to becoming a powerhouse in the racing world, is a testament to the spirit of perseverance and passion that defines Formula One. Want to delve deeper into the story? Well, stick with us.
You won't want to miss this.
So, without further ado, let's go full throttle. So, imagine this. It's a wet day at the iconic Vallelunga circuit precisely 40 years ago. A team, which is unrecognizable from what we now know as Prema, is taking its first steps in F3. It's the grandly titled Campidoglio Grand Prix, a nod to the historic Capitoline Hill at the heart of ancient Rome.
A momentous beginning indeed, but it sounds like the journey from there wasn't always smooth.
You hit the nail on the head. Their rise to the powerhouse status we associate with Prema today wasn't a straightforward one. They had to overcome numerous hurdles, but it was their overwhelming passion for racing and an indomitable family spirit that got them through.
Can you give us any examples, mate?
Absolutely. Take Angelo Rosen, one of the co-founders of Prema. After leaving school at the age of 14, he started his career in a modest company known as Trivelato. This company, although small, had a significant reputation in the world of motorsport. Rosen's journey from Trivelato to co-founding Prema is one of sheer determination and relentless pursuit of passion.
That certainly paints a clear picture. It just goes to show, doesn't it? With passion and dedication, even the most daunting of obstacles can be overcome.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's these humble beginnings and extraordinary journeys that make the world of Formula One so fascinating. It's not just about the races and the championships, it's also about the stories behind the teams and the people who make it all possible. So let's add some color to this story. Rosen's journey into the world of racing took him through the doors of the Trivelato family's large car dealership. They had a racing department which was a regular in Formula 2 and 3 in the 70s.
Ah, the 70s, a golden era for racing. And Trivelato has an impressive legacy too. They took Riccardo Patrese to the 1976 FIA European F3 title, didn't they?
Right on the money. But here's a twist in the tale. After completing his military service in 1977, Rosen left to set up RAM with a colleague from Trivelato. However, the focus on prototypes and hill climbing at RAM didn't quite hit the spot for him.
Oh, so he had a specific passion for formula cars then?
Exactly, and you know what they say, the heart wants what it wants.
Ha 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 ha, you've got that right. But seriously, it's that kind of passion that makes the difference, isn't it?
Agreed, mate. It's all about following your heart. Even if it leads you to the slippery slopes of the racing world. Ha 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 ha.
Ha ha ha, that's a good one. But you're absolutely right. Passion drives success, especially in a field as demanding as Formula One.
Right then, let's pick up where we left off. Picture this. It's the 21st of December, 1982. Piccolo, who was looking to create a racing team of his own, but lacked the necessary racing experience, approaches Rosen, fresh from his resignation at RAM.
Ah, the plot thickens. So Piccolo saw an opportunity and grabbed it?
That's right. He proposed to Rosen to form a team with him. Rosen took a couple of weeks to weigh his options as he had another proposal on the table, but ultimately accepted Piccolo's offer.
And that's how Prema'S was born?
Spot on. Prema'S, short for preparazione machine, or car preparation, was born out of that partnership. It was a childhood dream come true for Piccolo. The team was a proper family affair. Rosen's wife, Grazia Troncon, controlled the money, the budget, and logistics. Piccolo handled the sporting area, and Rosen managed the technical area. The team was completed by Rosen's young cousins, Andrea and Primo.
So it was a team effort in the truest sense, but it seems they didn't jump straight into F3?
Indeed, they didn't. It was already too late to join F3 for 1983. Thus, the newly formed Prema'S ran a single Lucchini sports car in the Italian Prototype Championship for 6 months. But their energy and motivation were firmly focused on formula cars. Their goal was to organize winter tests for F3, buy a car, test some drivers, and prepare for the 1984 season. And as they say, the rest is history. Before we delve back into our fascinating journey into the history of Prema, allow me a quick sidebar. If you're enjoying our conversation, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to F1 Motor Fever Podcast. It helps us enormously in bringing you top-drawer, free content and ensures you don't miss a single episode.
That's right, and do share it with your mates. Remember, we have special episodes every race weekend, and every Thursday we go the extra mile with an extended special episode on a truly epic theme.
Heh, well said, mate. So let's dive right back into our story, shall we? So as the newly formed Prema'S was gearing up for its F3 debut, they went about building their network within the F3 world.
And they got a bit of help, didn't they?
That they did. They received significant assistance from 2 individuals, Chuck McCarthy, who was the Ralt importer for Italy, and Roberto Farnetti, who imported Volkswagen Judd engines.
That must have been crucial. The early 80s was a time when F3 was an open category with multiple chassis manufacturers and engine suppliers, wasn't it?
Exactly right. Unlike today, Where F3 has been given to a spec car, the early 80s were a time of intense competition and diversity within F3. In 1984, Europe had a vast variety of engines, ranging from Toyota and Alfa Romeo to VW engines prepared by John Judd.
And Prema got their hands on one of these engines, right?
Correct. Piccolo and Rosine were approached by the Judd importer in Italy to run one driver, Gianfranco Tacchino. Tacchino had broken his arm in a crash after just 2 or 3 races in 1983. They struck a deal, and Prema was all set for F3.
And how did Ralt factor into this?
Ralt was the dominant chassis in European F3 at that time, with its Ron Tyrannic-designed ground effect RT3. McCarthy arranged generous financial terms to get the new team off to a good start. Nowadays, Prema's drivers and engineers benefit from an extensive pre-season testing schedule. But back then, every ounce of help mattered, and McCarthy's contribution was indeed significant. Now let's take a step back to 1984. Things were a bit different then for Prema and its plain white Ralt RT3 VW.
I sense we're about to dive into some real racing history here.
Indeed we are. In preparation for their debut season, Prema did a single day of testing at Misano just a week before the first race in Vallelunga. However, it was a tragically short day due to a fatal accident involving a motorcyclist.
So they hardly had any time to prepare for their first race?
That's right. Also, due to bulging entry lists exceeding grid capacities, some of Italy's smaller tracks used a format of 2 heats and a final. At Vallelunga, their driver, Tacchino, finished 9th in a rain-shortened heat, which put him on the 9th row of the grid for the 38-lap final.
But he had quite a remarkable race, didn't he?
That he did. Tacchino remarkably clawed his way through to 3rd place, earning Prema a podium finish on its very first day of racing. Not a bad start, eh?
Quite spectacular indeed. But it seems this result didn't get the recognition it deserved?
Exactly. The attention was mainly focused on Walter Vulaz, who broke Nova Motors' Alfa Romeo engine's domination by winning the race with a VW-powered car. But Tacchino kept improving and eventually finished 3rd in the championship. Quite the historical nugget, right?
Absolutely. It's these hidden gems that make the sport so rich in history.
Tacchino, the one who started it all for Prema, rounded off his debut season with another milestone, more precisely, Prema's first ever victory at Misano. He managed to see off a guesting Ivan Capelli, who was the newly crowned European F3 champion.
That must have been a remarkable achievement for the newly formed team.
Certainly, but the year wasn't up just yet. At the end of 1984, Prema was approached by McCarthy to run its Ralt VW at the Macau Grand Prix for ex-Formula One driver and ABBA drummer Slim Borgud.
Wait a minute, did you say ABBA drummer?
Yes. Borgud was indeed known for his stint as a drummer for ABBA. He qualified 2nd and was classified 6th in the Grand Prix.
That's quite an interesting combination, being both a musician and a race car driver.
Absolutely, it's not something you hear every day. Upon his return to Vicenza, Rosine apparently described Borgud as fast but a little weird. McCarthy, obviously happy with the team's efforts, called upon Prema again at the end of 1985 to run a privateer entry for Borgud.
But it seems Tacchino moved on after that season?
Indeed, Tacchino moved on and was replaced by Giorgio Montaldo, an Italian Formula 2000 graduate. Montaldo came 5th in Italian F3, earning a place for the inaugural FIA European F3 Cup. Quite the journey, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And it's only the beginning. I can only imagine what was yet to come.
As we continue the journey, we see Montaldo armed with a special engine, with an evolution of the electronics, finishing 6th in Prema's first big international event it had entered in its own name.
And they added another entry during the Italian F3 season, didn't they?
That's correct. They added another entry, a future 3-time Le Mans 24 Hours winner by the name of Rinaldo Dindo Capello from the 4th round of the Italian F3 season.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
Unfortunately not. At the Magione race, Capello was pushed out by another driver, causing him to break his arm. He missed about 40 days, which equated to 1 or 2 races.
Not the start he would have wanted, I presume.
Certainly not. However, he made a strong comeback, taking 2 pole positions and achieving some very impressive results.
But his journey with Prema was rather short-lived, wasn't it?
Yes, Capello struggled to raise sponsorship from the start. Despite the efforts of Piccolo and team to raise funds, the lack of financial support forced Capello to move elsewhere for the 1986 season. His seat was then taken by Massimo Monti. So, there were quite a few ups and downs during this period for Prema'S. The absence of Capello in the 1986 season was felt by the team as they really wanted him back. Unfortunately, neither party could raise the necessary budget. Monti, who had taken Capello's seat, was quick but had some unfortunate luck. The engine stopped 3 or 4 times during the season.
That's tough, especially given the strong competitors in the field that year.
You're right. He was contending against a strong crop of Italian drivers, including Nicola Larini, Marco Apicella, Alex Caffi, and Stefano Modena. Despite his misfortunes, Monti managed to finish 5th in the standings, which earned him entry into the European F3 Cup at Imola.
But it seems his streak of bad luck followed him there as well.
Indeed it did. Despite claiming pole position, he could only finish 7th, a lap behind the leader.
Quite a journey for him and the team.
Yes, but it didn't stop there. The rapid growth of the team required a new premises. So in 1987, Prema'S moved from its workshop in the small village of Colze to a new factory on the outskirts of Vicenza. They also invested in a new transporter.
So some significant changes off the track as well.
Absolutely, and there were big changes on track too. The team switched chassis from Ralt to Reynard, while remaining faithful to VW. New driver Cesare Carabelli arrived to replace Monti and was part of a scandal where 7 drivers were controversially excluded from standings for fuel irregularities after finishing 2nd at Vallelunga. Quite the year of ups and downs, wouldn't you say?
Indeed, quite a roller coaster. But it seems like every step, no matter how bumpy, was part of the journey to becoming the team they are today.
The season of 1987 was marked by the debut of a future touring car legend, Fabrizio Giovanardi. Rosin had high praise for him, labeling him as the best young driver. Prema'S, being one of the last remaining VW runners in Italy, decided to shift gears in 1988 and moved to Italian engines.
A big change indeed.
Yes, they bought Alfa Romeo units, maintaining a relationship with Gianni Pedrazzani of Nova Motor, whose firm had prepared the engines of the last 2 champions. Giovanardi had quite a remarkable year, achieving firsts, seconds, and even some pole positions.
But it seems he fell just short of the championship title?
Yes, Giovanardi lost the championship by a mere 2 points to Emanuele Naspetti. Rosin recalls that there were some mistakes made, both by the team and the driver.
A close call then.
Indeed, Giovanardi's entry for the Monaco F3 race was, for reasons known only to the organizers, turned down. But the team did make its first appearance under its own name at Macau with another future touring car legend, Gabriele Tarquini, as teammate to Giovanardi.
So a significant year for the team.
Absolutely. The following year, 1989, marked an important milestone in Prema'S history for several reasons, but we'll get into that shortly. The year 1989 saw some significant changes for the team. Antonio Tamburini left Venturini Racing to join Prema'S driver lineup, but it was his young teammate John Villeneuve who really caught the eye.
I believe you mean Jacques Villeneuve, not John, right?
My apologies. Yes, you're correct. It was indeed Jacques Villeneuve who came into the spotlight. He arrived with a sizable budget due to the sponsorship of Camel cigarettes, leading to the cars being decked out in the sponsor's bright yellow livery. It was a significant moment for Prema'S, as it seemed to signal their arrival in the big league.
And there was already some association with Camel, wasn't there?
Indeed, their relationship with Camel had kicked off in 1888. Rosen remembers that Camel started a bit earlier with Giovanardi, who had a small camel logo on his car.
And Camel had made a big impact in Formula One as well.
That's correct. After making a big splash when entering F1 with Lotus in 1987, Camel wanted to do things properly. They ditched the common Italian practice of plastering cars with hundreds of small sponsor stickers and instead decked out Prema'S cars, mechanics, and team in their instantly recognizable yellow, with the brand's logo taking center stage. They invested a lot of money, more in the team, more in the driver. They paid for the season, for the driver, says Rosin. The 3-year cooperation between Prema'S and Camel was based on trust, as there was never a written contract between them. Piccolo added that a simple shake of hands was enough to seal their agreement.
That's quite rare in this business, isn't it? Could you give us some examples of such handshake agreements?
Certainly. Besides Prema'S and Camel, a famous example within Formula One history is the handshake agreement between Niki Lauda and Bernie Ecclestone back in the late 70s. Ecclestone, who then owned the Brabham team, made a gentleman's agreement with Lauda that if he ever wanted to return to racing after his retirement, there would be a car waiting for him. Back to our story. The season started off well with Tamburini winning the first 2 races, but Gianni Morbidelli, who would later become an F1 driver, put the title beyond Tamburini's reach with a run of 6 wins in 7 races. Despite Tamburini managing to return to the top step in the penultimate round at Imola, he had to settle for second place behind Morbidelli once more during the European F3 Cup at Misano.
That must have been quite a fight for the title.
Indeed it was. However, Tamburini's shining moment came in Monaco during the team's first visit. He took the pole by 0.446 seconds and led every lap of the race. As Piccolo recalls, he and Rosine embraced, for the first time, and the only time in many years, overcome with emotion.
Such a momentous occasion.
Yes, and here's an interesting aside. One of the non-qualifiers in Monaco was a local, Hervé Leclerc, who had come in 8th the previous year. Now, his sons, Charles and Arthur, would become key figures in Prema'S future. You see, pieces of the past linking to the present. Now, moving on to Jacques Villeneuve, who astonishingly failed to qualify in Monaco. It wasn't too surprising, though, given that it was only his 3rd ever race meeting in single-seaters.
That would indeed be a steep learning curve.
Indeed. The future F1 and kart champion had only started racing the year before with a few outings in Italian touring cars. What's more, Villeneuve had almost no background in karting and initially raced under an Andorran license, as it was the only federation that would grant a racing license to a 16-year-old.
Now that's a curious fact.
The hype in Italy around the son of the legendary Gilles, a Ferrari idol still worshipped in Italy, was enormous. His youthful exuberance coupled with inexperience led to many mistakes. Despite that, his attitude left a positive impression on Rosanne. You know what? There's one fact I'd like to confirm. Was Villeneuve just 16 or 17 when he made his debut?
Why not give Victoria a quick ring?
Good idea. Let's call our trusty reporter, Victoria Parker. Hello, Victoria Parker. Hope you're well. Quick question for you. Was Jacques Villeneuve just 16 or 17 when he made his debut in Formula 3? Ah, I see. He was 17. Thank you for clarifying that for us.
Always good to get the facts straight.
Absolutely. And back to Villeneuve, despite the challenges, he was getting better and better. Though sometimes it was difficult because in Italian F3, there were heats to qualify for the final race. It was indeed a trying time for the young driver. Villeneuve's performance was a testament to his dedication. He started at the back sometimes, but he continued to improve.
That's quite a determination.
Yes, it is. And it was this very determination that impressed Rosanne, who said that in his youthful, passionate way when he saw Jacques, he saw the best driver for motivation, the character to approach motorsport.
Quite the praise.
Absolutely. And Villeneuve himself has fond memories of his early racing days with Prema. Speaking at the team's gala anniversary celebration in 2023, he said he was 18 years old, learning Italian and discovering a whole new world at that time. Angelo was like a father figure to him, and he learned a lot. His teammates had more experience and were older than him, so it was a really good life school.
Sounds like a wonderful journey.
Yes, it was. Now, moving on to Tamburini, he graduated to Formula 3000 for 1990, and Prema ran fourth-year F3 driver Roberto Colciago, Villeneuve, and Giuseppe Bugatti, who had made a strong impression during winter testing. Colciago took an early championship lead with 3 poles and 2 wins in the first 3 rounds, but then a combination of crashes and technical issues restricted him to just 1 point in the next 6 rounds. Quite a turn of events. Colciago's journey in the season was nothing short of a roller coaster. After a streak of crashes and technical issues, he bounced back with a victory at Verano.
That's quite the comeback.
Indeed, it was. However, that weekend was marred by a nasty qualifying shunt for Bugatti, which resulted in a broken arm. With a 4-point lead over Max Angelelli going into the Vallelunga season finale, Colciago found himself in a tricky situation, having only managed to qualify 11th while his rival took pole.
That's quite a predicament.
Yes, and to make matters worse, Colciago stalled at the start of the race. However, a ray of hope appeared in the form of Villeneuve, who burst through from the second row of the grid to lead. Villeneuve managed to hold up the field, which in turn aided Colciago's recovery.
That's some team spirit.
Absolutely. Even though Villeneuve won on the road, a 1-minute penalty dropped him to 14th place. Harsh penalties were more common back in 1990. This, however, promoted Colciago to third, enough to crown him champion by 3 points over Alex Zanardi. This victory marked Prema'S' first title.
What a significant achievement.
Yes, and Colciago, reflecting on his journey over 3 decades ago, mentioned that he had a fantastic team, fantastic people, and he learned a lot about the car that year. The team also hit another milestone that season, achieving its first ever 1-2 finish. Quite a remarkable journey for the team, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a testament to their hard work and dedication.
The team's first ever 1-2 finish happened without Colciago, as Bugatti led home Villeneuve at the Benetton circuit near Bari.
That must have been quite a sight.
Indeed. The 1990 title was also Reynard's first in Italy. While Reynard had also been victorious in Germany and France, Ralts had become the chassis of choice in Britain.
Interesting to see the different preferences in different countries.
Yes, it's quite fascinating. Mika Hakkinen from West Surrey Racing used his Ralt to defeat the Italian and German regulars in cameo appearances on the continent. Prema initially stayed loyal to Reynard for 1991, but it soon became clear that the car was inferior to the Dallarès and Ralts.
That's quite a setback.
It certainly was. According to Rosen, it was a difficult season because Prema was driving with a Reynard. The combination of the car and the Pirelli tire was a disaster. The car was not fast. After 3 races, they decided to buy 3 new cars from Ralt, which was a very good car at that time.
A smart move on their part.
Absolutely. The move brought the team back to the front with Villeneuve and new teammate Alessandro Zampedri. However, by this time, Luca Badoer was on an unstoppable streak. Villeneuve did manage to secure pole for the prestigious Monza Lottery Grand Prix, but had to settle for second behind Badoer in the race. Quite the competitive season, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Sounds like it was full of twists and turns.
Back at Monza in September, Villeneuve led from another pole before being punted off by Nico Palhares. Despite that, the furious Villeneuve managed to recover to 3rd place. Quite the fighter, isn't he?
Definitely, this shows his resilience and determination.
Indeed. Rosen says that Villeneuve had some good results, some pole positions. However, the result, 6th in the championship, was not fantastic because they lost time and spent a lot of money to prepare the move to the Ralt, which was not good for the final results.
Every decision has its consequences.
That's true. They stayed with the Ralt until the end of the season, but then Dallara started pushing Rosen, asking why they weren't running the Dallara. Prema, along with Euroteam, was the only top team not to use the Dallara. So for 1992, they decided to switch to Dallara.
That must have been a pivotal decision for them.
Indeed. But rivals had already gathered several seasons of data with the increasingly omnipresent Dallara chassis and Prix. Ma struggled to match them with their Formula Alpha Boxer graduate Gianantonio Pacchioni. He could race for the team again in 1995. Pacchioni became something of a Monaco specialist. He was 6th on his circuit debut in 1992 with Villeneuve, who made a guest appearance, finishing 9th. Then in 1993, he won with Tatuus, which was then a team rather than a manufacturer. All in all, quite an interesting journey, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It truly encapsulates the highs and lows of motor racing.
2 years later, Pacchioni won again with his old team. Rosen remarks that Pacchioni always drove very well on the smaller tracks. Prema made the decision to switch its engine supplier in 1993 to use Fiat's new power plant.
That's an important shift in their strategy.
Yes, and it did yield some positive results. Fabrizio De Simone won twice in Italian F3. However, off-track the company was struggling. Piccolo says the only option was to sell the team due to the financial pressure they were under.
That sounds like a very tough time for the team.
Indeed, it was. As a result, 2 new investors were brought in for 1994, local businessmen Massimo Viato and Giorgio Galvanin. By mid-season that year, Piccolo had decided to move on, saying he was tired after 12 years of doing always and only F3. I wanted to try something else.
I'm sorry, but I didn't catch that last part. Could you explain it differently?
Of course, my apologies if I wasn't clear. Piccolo felt exhausted after 12 years dedicated solely to F3 racing. He wanted to experience different categories of racing and try something new. This led him to take on various roles in Formula Renault 3.5, F3000, and even had stints in the USA with the American Le Mans Series, 2 years in China, and running the Super Trofeo and FIA GT for Lamborghini.
Ah, I see. That's quite a diverse range of experience.
Absolutely. And for the team he co-founded, it also marked the start of a new direction as Prema'S transformed into Prema Power Team, the name it would become famous under across Europe. In the second part of this story, we'll delve into Prema's journey from this challenging point to its rise as the global titan that dominates today's junior categories.
I look forward to it. Sounds like an interesting journey.
Let's illustrate what we've been discussing with a recent example. Dino Boganovic's FIA F3 championship victory in Melbourne last weekend was, by our reckoning, Prema's 239th race win in F3 through the category's various guises. Quite an achievement, isn't it?
Indeed, it just goes to show the consistent excellence the team has demonstrated over the years.
Absolutely. And speaking of excellence, let's spotlight some of Prema's most successful F3 stars. Raffaele Marciello, who raced for the team from 2011 to 2013, is at the top of the list with 23 wins.
That's an impressive record.
Indeed. Then we have Felix Rosenqvist and Lance Stroll, both tied at second place with 15 wins each. Roberto Meri has 13 wins, and Daniel Juncadella has 11.
So many talented racers. It's a testament to Prema's ability to nurture talent.
You're absolutely right. Esteban Ocon and Maximilian Gunther, both with 9 wins, make it to the 6th position. Ryan Briscoe and Mick Schumacher, each with 8 wins, are tied at the 8th spot. And finally, we have Jake Dennis and Callum Ilott, both with 6 wins.
And I'm sure we'll see many more names added to this list in the future.
I wouldn't bet against it. The talent Prema attracts and the results they achieve are nothing short of remarkable. It's been quite a journey for them, and I can't wait to see where they go from here. Thanks so much for joining us on F1 Motor Fever Podcast today. We've had a blast delving into the fascinating journey of Prema Power Team in the world of F3, a journey of resilience, effort, and undeniable success. We certainly hope you've enjoyed it as much as we did. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future episodes. Your support means the world to us. And of course, feel free to share this episode with your friends, family, and fellow Formula One enthusiasts. Better yet, start a conversation about it in your social circles, be that on WhatsApp, Facebook, even around the dinner table. We love to hear your thoughts, so don't shy away from dropping us a comment.
And remember, there's always more petrol in our tank. We have exciting things lined up, so there's plenty to look forward to. Stay tuned every day for more. And don't forget our Thursday morning special.
Absolutely. By the way, a special shout out to Enzo. Just know you're going to love this episode. Again, thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. We can't wait to catch up with you on the next episode. William and George, pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road. Our channel's content is pure gold.